Have you ever missed a life you never actually lived? Not a person you lost, not a childhood memory, not a place you once lived. I mean a life that existed only in your imagination. Maybe you sometimes wonder what your life would look like if you had stayed with someone, if you had taken that opportunity, if you had chosen a different career, if you had moved to another country, if you had made one decision differently. And sometimes, the strange part isn't simply wondering about it. You actually feel something. You can feel sadness for a relationship that never happened, nostalgia for a place you've never lived, regret over a decision you never made. You can even look at your real life and think, maybe I was supposed to be living that other life. But how can you miss something you've never experienced? And why can an imaginary version of your life sometimes feel more emotionally powerful than the life you're actually living? That's what we're going to uncover. Because the answer has less to do with the life you lost and more to do with the life your mind created. When we think about memory, we usually imagine the brain storing things that already happened. A birthday, a conversation, a relationship, a place you visited. But your brain does something else that is just as important. It imagines. Your mind can take pieces of what you already know, people, places, experiences, hopes, fears, and combine them into possible futures. You might imagine yourself living somewhere completely different. You might imagine becoming successful in a career you've always wanted. You might imagine being married to someone you once loved. You might imagine what your life would look like if you had made a completely different decision 5 years ago. None of those experiences have actually happened, but your brain can still create a detailed picture of them. And because that picture contains real memories, real desires, and real emotions, the feeling it creates can be real. The life isn't real, but the emotion you're experiencing while imagining it is. This is where the question, what if, becomes so powerful. What if I had said yes? What if I had said no? What if I had stayed? What if I had left? What if I had taken that opportunity? At first, these questions can seem harmless, but the brain doesn't always stop at the question. It starts building an alternative story. And once that story becomes detailed enough, you don't just think about what could have happened. You start imagining how you would have felt. You imagine the house you might have lived in, the people you might have met, the person you might have become, the happiness you might have experienced. And suddenly, you're comparing your real life with a life that has never been tested by reality. And that's important, because the imaginary version of your life has a huge advantage. It has no problems. Think about a movie trailer. It shows you the beautiful moments, the exciting moments, the moments that make you want to see the whole story. But it doesn't show you every boring Tuesday. It doesn't show you the arguments, the disappointments, the bills, the misunderstandings, the ordinary days. Our imagined lives can work the same way. When you think about the life you could have had, your mind often highlights the parts you desire most. Maybe you imagine that relationship being happy. You imagine that career being fulfilling. You imagine that decision leading to success. But you don't know what the complete reality would have looked like. Maybe that relationship would eventually have ended too. Maybe that career would have exhausted you. Maybe that city wouldn't have felt like home. Maybe the decision you regret not making would have created a completely different problem. You don't know. And that's exactly what makes an unrealized life so powerful. It can remain perfect because reality never got the chance to contradict it. Sometimes people experience something that resembles grief over a future that never happened. You might not be grieving an actual event. You might be grieving a possibility. The possibility of who you could have become. The possibility of what a relationship could have been. the possibility of where your life could have gone. And sometimes, you're not only losing an imagined situation, you're losing an imagined version of yourself. Maybe you imagined yourself as a successful business owner, a parent, a traveler, a musician, someone living in a particular country, someone married to a particular person. When that future disappears, it can feel like you're losing a version of yourself that you never got to meet. And that's why the feeling can be surprisingly deep. But here's something we often forget. Your brain is comparing two things that aren't equal. On one side, you have your real life, a life with uncertainty, mistakes, boring days, difficult people, unexpected problems. And on the other side, you have an imagined life, a life where your mind gets to choose the best possible outcome. That's not a fair competition. You're comparing reality to a fantasy that never had to deal with reality. And sometimes that's why your current life can suddenly feel disappointing. Not necessarily because your life is terrible, but because your imagination has created an alternative that contains only the parts you wish had happened. Does that mean you should stop imagining? No. Imagining different possibilities isn't necessarily unhealthy. In fact, imagining possible futures is part of being human. It can help us make decisions. It can help us understand what we want. It can even reveal things about ourselves that we haven't consciously recognized. If you constantly imagine yourself living somewhere else, maybe you're craving adventure. If you keep imagining a different career, maybe something about your current work isn't fulfilling you. If you keep imagining a relationship where you feel understood, maybe you're recognizing an emotional need that isn't being met. So instead of asking, "Why can't I stop thinking about the life I could have had?" try asking, "What is this imaginary life showing me about what I want?" Because sometimes the fantasy isn't telling you to go back. It's telling you what you're missing right now. And this might be the most important part. Sometimes we become so focused on the life we didn't live that we forget something. The future hasn't happened yet. The fact that one version of your life didn't happen doesn't mean that everything you wanted from that life is gone forever. Maybe you wanted love. That doesn't necessarily mean you need that particular person. Maybe you wanted adventure. That doesn't necessarily mean you need that particular city. Maybe you wanted success. That doesn't necessarily mean you need that exact career. Sometimes we become attached to the form our dream was supposed to take and forget the feeling we were actually searching for. Once you understand the difference, something changes. You can stop asking, "How do I get that life back?" and start asking, "How can I create the feeling I wanted from that life in the life I have now?" That's a very different question. Maybe you're not missing a life. Maybe you're missing a possibility. Maybe you're mourning a version of yourself that never got the chance to exist. Maybe you're comparing reality with an imaginary future that was never given the opportunity to disappoint you. Or maybe your mind is simply showing you something important, a dream, a need, a desire, a direction you've been ignoring. So the next time you catch yourself thinking, "What if my life had gone differently?" don't immediately punish yourself for thinking about it. Pause. Ask yourself, what exactly am I missing? Is it the person, the place, the success, the freedom, the feeling, or the person you imagined you would become? Because sometimes the life you're mourning isn't asking you to go backward. It's showing you where you might want to go next. If you enjoyed this, subscribe for more psychology, human behavior, and the hidden reasons behind the things we feel. This is Echoes of Synapse, where we explore the hidden stories inside the human mind and uncover the psychology behind the thoughts, emotions, and behaviors we experience every day.